any one or two lessons stick out that he taught you?
Yeah. Oh man, a lot. Naval's an awesome human being. One of them is writing in public. Like I think people sometimes forget, or at least maybe if they just learned about him on Twitter, like don't realize that this person has been doing this kind of thing, which is kind of learning and sharing his knowledge in public, pre-Twitter, right? Like literally pre-Twitter. Uh, he had a blog called Venture Hacks. I believe it's still there if you just go to venturehacks.com, which was kind of the predecessor to AngelList. Like, it's kind of funny because it is the minimalist entrepreneur framework, right? He started a blog, he started contributing to a community, teaching what he was learning over time, trying to increase more, information symmetry in these kind of venture capitalist entrepreneur conversations. And then he productized it with AngelList. Like, it's kind of funny how cleanly, so like very much an inspiration, I think, in many ways. Um, and then I think I really, and so that's kind of like the broad kind of career, maybe strategic one. And then I just really like how he doesn't focus on anything that doesn't feel important. Like it really feels like he's really just focused on what matters to him. And he's just very honest about that, even in ways that might make you uncomfortable, you know? Like if I'm like, hey, like, what's up? I probably won't respond, like he's very kind of focused on, and that's great. And I like, the word transactional has a negative connotation, but I like the fact that I kind of go into those conversations, get it, wanting something, getting it incredibly quickly, and then moving on with my life, and vice versa. Like I like that. Like, and I really believe, like when I talk to founders and when I talk to people who DM me on Twitter, like my goal is literally to just help you solve whatever problem you're trying to solve at the moment, and then move on, because then I can go help somebody else, and you can go do what you really. I assume you don't want to just talk to me all day, uh, and just being honest about that, like being honest about just the fact that everyone has like a thing that they want to do. Like they don't follow me on Twitter because they think I'm a genius. They have some problem. They think that I might be able to help them solve it. Um, and that's like, I don't know. It lowers my ego almost, right? It's like I try to kind of keep that in mind, where like everyone has their own concerns, their own problems, their own stuff that they're obsessed with, and I can help them. But ultimately, it's not about me. It's not about like, hey, I wrote a book and it's awesome and I'm a Penguin published author, but like it's not about that. It's about, hey, I wrote a book that I think can help in these ways, um, and hopefully it does. So I think it's kind of like anti-hype in that way, where it like, even AngelList, right? Like now it's it's a pretty big, it's pretty important. It's kind of a fundamental pillar of the kind of startup ecosystem. But it's a 13, 14-year-old company. It took a long time to get there, and I don't think Naval's ever said anything like this is, like, he barely even talks about it, right? Like I'm sure like a good chunk of his audience doesn't even know that like he started AngelList, right? Or maybe doesn't even know what AngelList is, but like, I really like that, where I'm like, I really want to focus on my ideas. That's why I love Twitter. I can focus on my ideas, and less so about my resume, my credentials. Like the book doesn't say founder of Gumroad, 11 millionaire, like whatever. No, like hopefully you'll get that from reading the book, but it's just the minimalist entrepreneur. This is my name. Um, you know, and really trying to sell it, based on what's in front of you, right? The cover and that kind of those ideas themselves. So anyway, that was a lot. But yeah, definitely, he's definitely inspiring. And the other thing that I would say that is kind of a meta observation is that you don't even need mentors in today's world, because you can learn like everything that I've learned from him. Like none of that was learned by me like grabbing coffee with him, like whatever. Like it's just, no, I just follow him on Twitter. Like I've hung out with him a few times in person, whatever. But like, it's just like you can get a lot of this stuff, just listen to him talk on Joe Rogan podcast or whatever, and you'll get a lot of this stuff. And then it kind of is like, oh man, it turns out there are no shortcuts, right? Like that's always the ultimate lesson I get. It's like, oh yeah, it's just hard work. It takes time and it is high risk and you will likely fail it. But like, luckily, it's okay if your business fails. Ultimately, who cares, right? Like what matters is you get what you want eventually, right? So
Yeah, it's such a cool time to live in where, yeah, you don't have to be best friends to Naval to like read his tweets, listen to him on a podcast, or read the almanac of Naval Ravikant. It's like there's so many ways you could find the mentor today without ever meeting the person. So it's just, a great time to live in.